This episode of Nerdist News is sponsored by Captive State. Did the Doctor Strange director spoil the MCU debut of Marvel's oldest hero? It's no secret that fans are anxiously awaiting to see the fate of all of their favorite Marvel heroes in April's Avengers Endgame. Who will survive? Who will die? And how many HEPA filters will Earth need to get all that dust out of the air? Endgame marks the end of Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and despite the fact that it is a little over a month away, the cats at Marvel are still being pretty tight-lipped about what's coming to the big screen next for Phase 4. In fact, the only characters that we can presume will have to make it through Endgame in some capacity are Spider-Man, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. Marvel has announced both Black Panther and Doctor Strange sequels, and we already know Spider-Man is swinging back to theaters in July for Far From Home. However, beyond that, we know nothing. For the most part, everything else about Phase 4 of the MCU is shrouded in mystery. Until now! Thanks to a deleted tweet, we may have gotten a huge clue to where Feige and company might be looking to finally introduce Marvel's first and oldest superhero on the big screen, Namor the Sub-Mariner. On Wednesday, Doctor Strange director Scott Derrickson tweeted out this image of Doctor Strange drowning with Namor in the background, along with a caption, "Are you experienced?" While the tweet was quickly deleted, this didn't stop the folks over at the Twitter account Superhero Poll from screenshotting the tweet and resharing for all the fans to see. This tweet, of course, had fans wildly speculating that Namor could finally be introduced in Doctor Strange 2. And if you follow some of the evidence, there is runway for this theory to make sense, so let's cut through all of the clues and evidence. First up, the image is taken from the cover of 2011's Fear Itself, The Deep #1, and features Doctor Strange drowning with Namor in the background. Now, for those of you only familiar with the DC's version of underwater heroes,
I dig it.
Who is Namor, and why would his introduction to the MCU be so momentous? Well, he is literally one of Marvel Comics' first heroes. Now, if you haven't dusted off your long boxes of 80-year-old comics in a while, Namor the Sub-Mariner is the super strong Prince of Atlantis who sometimes fills an anti-hero role, similar to that of the Incredible Hulk. Though he technically made his first appearance in the unreleased comic Motion Picture Funnies Weekly in 1939, he's better known for his official debut in Marvel Comics #1 later that year alongside the original Human Torch, who was really an android, but that's beside the point. Also, Namor is technically a mutant, but again, that's beside the point. So, why haven't we seen the Submariner on the big screen until now? Well, Namor's film rights have been, for lack of a better word, a show since the 90s. When Feige was asked if Disney-backed Marvel Studios could make a Namor film a few years back, he said, "It's slightly more complicated than that. Let's put it this way, there are entanglements that make it less easy. There are older contracts that still involve other parties that mean we need to work things out before we move forward on it." However, just last year, it appears some of the red tape must have gotten cut through because at a Black Panther screening, Feige mentioned that Namor could still make an appearance in the MCU. It was just a question of if and when. But why introduce Namor in a Doctor Strange sequel? Well, again, let's go to the long boxes. Both Namor and Doctor Strange were inaugural members of the original lineup of the Defenders from 1971, which also included the Hulk and Silver Surfer. And with Netflix's version of the Defenders going extinct, the MCU might want to revive the franchise on the big screen instead of the small screen. Plus, introducing or teasing a new hero in another film is par for the course with the MCU. It's how we got Thor, Spider-Man, and Captain Marvel. Also, Namor has recently gotten a power upgrade in the comics. In addition to his super strength, he now has the ability to control water, and we know that Marvel Comics often updates their characters before their big screen debut. The most recent example of this was the updating of Ms. Marvel into the version of Captain Marvel we saw kick butt in theaters this past weekend. Of course, the final clue in all of this is probably Aquaman's box office returns. Seriously, Aquaman made over $1 billion. That's more money than any Batman film.
You might say that Aquaman made it rain. You might say that Aquaman flooded the box office. You might say that Aquaman was raking in the clams.
At the end of the day, it looks like the clues are pointing towards Namor the Submariner's introduction, but we'll probably have to wait until after Avengers Endgame to get any more concrete information on Phase 4 of the MCU. But what do you folks think? Are you ready to see Namor in the MCU? Would you want him to be a hero or an anti-hero? And which Prince of Atlantis do you like best? We're partial to the short-lived 1997 British animated series, The Prince of Atlantis. Let's discuss. Thanks again to Captive State for sponsoring today's episode. From the director of Rise of the Planet of the Apes comes Captive State, set in a Chicago neighborhood nearly a decade after an occupation by an extraterrestrial force. Captive State explores the lives on both sides of the conflict, the legislature, and the resistance. 10 years later, Gabriel, the catalyst for the resistance, rises as their leader, sparking a fire that ignites the war for the world. Watch Captive State in theaters this Friday.